Things fall apart, the center cannot hold. Mere anarchy is loosed upon the world. The blood-dimmed tide is loosed, and everywhere the ceremony of innocence is drowned. The best lack all conviction, while the worst are full of passionate intensity. These words of the great poet William Butler Yeats in his poem The Second Coming probably reflect the kind of society in which we live. If you ask me whether these words apply to the Indian context completely, then I would say a qualified yes. Qualified because Indian society is a different kind of society. We live in the millennial society. India is a country that is progressing by leaps and bounds, but we have a lot of problems, and the youth of this country inherit these problems from us. Problems of all kinds, problems of unemployment, problems of illiteracy, of poverty, of corruption, you name it, these problems are there. The point for us is, how do we solve these problems? How do we move forward to a society that is humane and enlightened? That is the crisis today.
Almighty, create thoughts and actions in the minds of the people of our nation, so they may live united, may they live united. Oh Almighty, this is my prayer. Oh Almighty, help them choose the right path. Bless all the people of our nation.
When I was a student, I had the occasion to travel by train to New Delhi. But then communicating that I had reached New Delhi was a very difficult thing, because the best way to do that was to drop a postcard into the post box so that your family members would get to know maybe after a week that you had reached New Delhi. Telephones were difficult to access. You did not find them very easily, and even if you did, you had to book a trunk call or a person-to-person call, which was even more costlier, and then wait for a long time till you actually made the connection. Today, this seems to be old hat. This seems to be a very old story, because the scenario has completely changed today. How did this transformation come about is a question that we need to ask. Our young people, our students, are familiar with the history and technology of other countries of the world. They know that Alexander Graham Bell invented the telephone, but they need to know that there was a digital revolution that happened right here in India, and which is happening even to this day. They must know the kind of vision that a person called Sam Pitroda brought into being, using indigenous technology, using the expertise of Indian engineers to bring about a complete transformation in the way in which we connect to one another. That is the inheritance which propels the whole notion of a digital India today. And this indeed is a tremendous source for our young people to grow, to build a new future upon. The only thing is that we need to be aware of this history, and we need to harness this great technology that connects us all together today.
Role of youth in nation building and development. We all recognize that young people have a major role to play going forward in building future and prosperity, not only for themselves, but also for their families and the country. This has been talked about at length in various forums, but at the same time, we all feel that not enough is being done in this area. Our young at times feel they don't have opportunities, they are not understood, they don't get the right kind of encouragement from parents, teachers, community, government, and there is a gap. So I want to address some of these in this conversation. In India, we have roughly 600 million people who are below age of 25. I'm told that 70-75% of our population is below age of 35, 40, and they are all young. World over, population is aging and decreasing. While in India, population is increasing and young. We talk about demographic dividends. We understand that this is a huge opportunity for India because this could be the workforce for the world. But then we got to train them. We got to nurture them. We got to provide right nutrition, food, education. How do we capitalize on this is a great challenge for all of us. To begin with, I believe answer lies in each of us. We need to really start looking inside to see what are we doing as young to really build our own self. Self imply taking care of ourselves. Each of our young must look at inside within themselves as to what kind of a self they want to build. A self that is rooted in family, values, hard work, truth, trust, love. These are some of the Gandhian things that really make a good self. If the self is distracted, and I see a lot of people on drug, I see a lot of people who don't really study well, then somehow it catches up. Not in your own personal life, but it also affects the lives of their families, neighborhood, state, and country. So I think to begin with, answer lies in each one of us. We really need to focus on improving ourselves. Then, education. Education is empowering. Education is redefining. Education is all about getting skill sets to be able to go in the marketplace and do things that need to be done. Education could be at various levels: school level, skill development level, diplomas, small crash courses, higher education, distance learning, research and development. It all depends on what individual wants to build on. There are so many different fields, technical, non-technical. People talk about STEM education, which is more about technology, math, engineering kind, science. But that's not the only education. You could be a great economist, you could be a wonderful doctor, you could be psychologist, philosopher, anthropologist, or you could be a plumber, electrician, carpenter, blacksmith. But all of these things require modern education. And then you got to have a dream. Each one of us has to have a dream to get something done in life. I'll give you my own example. I was born and raised in a small little tribal village in India. My parents had 4th grade education. But they had a dream to send their children to college. They worked very hard to make sure that we get good education. We in return, made sure that we study well. We help fulfill their dream and our own dream. I went to school in Baroda, got a master's in physics, and then came to US in 1964, got a degree in electrical engineering, set up a business here, and constantly focus on work, family, duty, responsibility, honesty, and building something for myself, my family, and my community. Then I had an opportunity to work with then Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi on telecom and IT. In mid-80s, when I started my work with Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi, who gave me the political will to really work in telecom, to transform telecom. In those days, we really had 2 million phones. The benefits of being young and talented people at CDOT, Center for Development of Telematics. We could then plant right seeds for right development in the country. So today, instead of 2 million phones, we have 1.2 billion phones. India is a country of connected billion. In addition, we generate $170 billion worth of software services export every year, year after year. This took about 25 years, but it also needed a lot of young talent. Nothing happens in a short period of time. It takes a decade to make a difference. There are no quick fixes. And I want young to know that you got to invest in your future. If you're trying to get something done quickly, believe me, in the long run, it'll backfire. It won't work. So have patience. I have learned that. And I hope you all realize that the first step is to build yourself. Have a big dream and focus on education, job, and character. To me, that is the most important thing. I want to take this opportunity to also talk about 3 things quickly. I want to share with you the experience I had at CDOT and what it meant to younger generation and the talent. I want to also spend a little bit of time on education and then employment and job creation. Center for Development of Telematics was established by Government of India as an independent society to develop digital switching and associated technology to modernize India's telecom network. It was based on indigenous development, local talent, ancillary industry, Indian model of development, rural telecom, sophisticated microprocessor based distributed architecture, and system that meets Indian traffic and Indian climate conditions. It was a $36 million project then with 36 months timetable. The key to this was young talent. So we essentially hired 400 top engineers, mainly IITians and graduates from best of the best universities. We created not only right work environment, but also created appropriate facilities, air-conditioned offices, right kind of equipment, standards, processes, procedures, periodic reviews. And in this environment, they really flourished. these young people gave best of their life to C dot. They worked long hours, they met their schedules, they outperformed every task, and it was an interesting work culture that they developed on their own, where it was fun to be at work. It was not 9 to 5 hour job. It was a mission. People were passionate about it. What I learned from this experience is that Indian talent is as good as anywhere else in the world. You just have to give them clear direction, motivate them, empower them, trust them, encourage them, and give them all the flexibility, freedom, and autonomy they need to perform. This has been the biggest challenge in India from my experiences. We don't have institutional autonomy, freedom, flexibility, where responsibilities are clearly defined, articulated, assigned, and people are rewarded for doing good work. Reward doesn't mean just more money. Reward also means recognition, respect. And we learn that when you give them the right environment, our young really delivers. If we can get this kind of institutions all over the country, I'm sure we can provide better work environment to our young. Unfortunately, our institutions are run by senior people who have old management style. Some are authoritarian, most are hierarchical, systems are feudal, and as a result, young talent gets stifled. Each and every one of our institutions, whether it is a hospital, industry, R&D labs, university, must learn to create right work environment, work culture, work habits, work norms to get best out of our